Listen up, guys. On top of G Fuel becoming devil hunters via the new Chainsaw Man energy formula, they've also become rogue ninjas. There's a Akatsuki flavored energy formula that you can purchase using my affiliate link and discount code down in the pinned comment and the description box. This is not a sponsorship though. If you do purchase something, use my link and discount code, I do get a small kickback, and I am an avid user of G Fuel. I'll usually mix it in with non-stimulant pre-workout, since G Fuel does have just enough caffeine to get you going for a day, usually around 150 milligrams per serving. And these are two of the tastiest flavors that they've come out with, which is saying a lot because I love their Duke Nukem flavor that they had a few months back. However, you'll also be able to get some really cool anime themed merchandise, as well as energy tubs and different energy formulas of different anime to choose from. Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, My Hero Academia, Mobile Suit Gundam, Attack on Titan, and so many other series are available on the website. And best of all, unlike a lot of other energy formulas and drinks that are out there, there is zero crash because there's zero sugar in this one. Two really huge selling points of why I personally support G Fuel. In typical anime fashion, I am going to need you guys to send me your energy by clicking the affiliate link in the description and in the pinned comment, so you can buy whatever anime themed product you want. It doesn't have to be Naruto, it can be whatever anime strikes your fancy. And when you do so, make sure to use my promo code KAGE to get yourself a discount. What if I told you that Boruto isn't the main decision maker in his own survival anymore? That no matter how powerful he becomes, the key to his fate, and maybe the fate of the entire ninja world, rests in the hands of a man who was born as a clone, forged from one of Konoha's greatest heroes, a man who once walked away from everything and now might be forced to save the very boy who he sees as being a singularity of fate, potentially mirroring his genetic parent, Jiraiya. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video, where we're going to be taking a deep dive into why Kashin Koji must save Boruto from Jura, even if Boruto doesn't want it. Why this isn't just about protection, but it's also about preserving fate, creating a new timeline, and possibly making the hardest decision of it all, forcing Boruto away from the battlefield he's currently on, whether Boruto agrees or not. Also, as a quick reminder, the chapter drops on the 20th this month, so depending on when we get spoilers, the review might be out on the day of the official release or a couple of days after, so I thank you in advance for your patience while the chapter review editor works on the review. Also, if you're into One Piece, check out my new videos on the Everything One Piece Explained channel, where I strictly talk One Piece lore while also reviewing the series without being spoiled from the very start of the series, chapter by chapter. Also, if you're into Fire Force, check out my Anime Explained channel for the new Fire Force videos on that channel. So jumping right into it, we first have to start with Kashin Koji's mission and the stakes of fate itself. Kashin Koji isn't like the other characters in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. He's a man with a singular focus. He is cold, calculating, yet he is bound by a higher vision. After escaping death in the battle against Ishiki, Koji embraced his role, not as a tool, but as a free actor in the timeline. But here's where it gets serious. Kashin Koji doesn't just believe in fate, he believes in singularities of fate. To Kashin Koji, Boruto's not just a prodigy like Sasuke saw him, or a vessel for Momoshiki like Kawaki sees him. Instead, Koji views Boruto as being the anchor, a singularity meant to diverge from all timelines that led to Otsutsuki domination one way or the other, whether it be Ishiki making a chakra fruit, Code making a chakra fruit, or the Ten Tails, which comes of the Otsutsuki due to what Code did with the Chroma Seal and Shibai's DNA when he made people like Jura. Koji's trying to prevent all that from happening. Kashin Koji once said, if Boruto dies, the timeline where Jura destroys everything, the planet dies when that happens to Boruto. This isn't poetry. This is strategy. It's a cold and logical truth. Jura isn't like Code. He isn't a ego-driven lunatic simp like Code. He's a being of composed and relentless will. He's tenacious like Ishiki, but he is born of something far worse. He is a Ten Tails that is attempting to defy nature by attempting to evolve into godhood through a clone consciousness when you really sit down and think about it. And it should be worth noting, Jura said it himself. He is somebody who does view the chakra fruit as something potentially he could eat for himself. If Jura kills Boruto, there is no retry. The divergence from destiny, it collapses, and the singularity, it dies. Now, in terms of why Kashin Koji might intervene personally, this is where it gets interesting. So why would Kashin Koji personally step in here? Can't Boruto handle it? After all, he's trained with Sasuke, he's fought against Code, he has the Karma Seal. Even though he can't fully control it, if you go with the Jogan theory, he has the Jogan, but here's the catch. Boruto isn't acting like a singularity, not yet. He is still very emotionally compromised, and as Kashin Koji said, hey fam, you're in a situation where if you face Jura right now, you will die. Boruto, for the most part, he has resisted the full implications of being a singularity of fate. The reason why? It's because it means sacrificing lives. It means making emotionally cold choices. And Boruto, he's not ready for that. He still wants to save everyone. Sarada, Kawaki, even Code. But Kashin Koji knows that the timeline is not going to bend to those feelings. It requires a cold calculation. It's why Kashin Koji and Shikamaru, they work so in sync right now. They're both very pragmatic. Koji doesn't see sentiment. He sees probability tree branches. He sees outcomes. He sees possible scenarios. And with each branch in the timeline where Boruto faces Jura head on right now, it ends in death or worse, assimilation, which is why Kashin Koji may need to take a drastic step, potentially the most drastic step yet, removing Boruto from the battlefield by brute force. This gets even deeper when you dive into my favorite aspect of what Naruto as a franchise does, which is Buddhism, Dharma, and the singularity of fate. So this isn't just science fiction. As we've discussed numerous times, Naruto and Boruto is a series. They are both deeply inspired by Buddhism. The term singularity of fate mirrors the Buddhist philosophy about the wheel of samsara, that endless cycle of suffering, and the role of the Bodhisattva who breaks that cycle not just for themselves but also for others. In Buddhist thought, the Bodhisattva delays their own enlightenment in order to guide others. Koji, ironically, is acting more like a pragmatic monk than Boruto. He sees Boruto as someone who can break that wheel, but only if he survives long enough to gain the clarity to lead, and that indirectly helps Boruto in his effort to one day become a Shadow Hokage. Koji just has to allow Boruto to survive long enough for him to get there. That's why those moments where Boruto's basically yelling, I have to protect them, and Kashin Koji's basically replying, no, you have to survive. That's why that's so important. And that leads us to tension and fallout between Boruto and Kashin Koji. Imagine this fallout. Boruto, who's already isolated, Sumire's already clocked that and she is correct. He doesn't want to be saved if it means that others have to die. Boruto wants to find another way. He basically wants his cake and he wants to eat it too. He wants to fight Jura, even if it means death. Because Boruto, his entire character, much like his father, is centered around the belief that you can defy destiny. But Kashin Koji, he doesn't care about Boruto's feelings. He doesn't care about Boruto's intuition. The only thing he cares about are results. This is a clash of ideology that creates a deep emotional rift, one that is very much needed, and it's also very interesting, and it's a nice homage to Boruto having once told Naruto, tell me more about your story, and now Boruto's having to literally walk Naruto's story. Though it's parallel, there's still some overlapping there. This makes that entire contrast with Boruto and Koji and Jiraiya and Naruto so fascinating, because you can think of Jiraiya smiling at Naruto and putting his all into him because he believes in Naruto, versus you look at Boruto, there are times where he's angry at Koji, Koji's silent and watching, Koji is always calculating, always thinking about the next step. That's why that's so important. This is why when people say this is just a ripoff of Naruto, I call them stuck in Shippuden, because they can't see past their own delusion to accept the story for what it is. And this is where it gets very tragic. Koji, being a clone of Jiraiya, is taking the opposite approach of his original parent Jiraiya. Where Jiraiya nurtured Naruto through love and through belief, Koji now acts through dispassion and through control, because he doesn't believe he can wait for Boruto to grow into that hero role naturally. He's looking at the clock and he's saying time's running out, and to a certain extent he's a bit of a control freak. He wants everything to go down the way that he sees it, which it makes sense given the type of eye that he has, or rather the type of shinjutsu that he has, and that's easy to overlook. And sometimes I do think when people bash Kashin Koji, they overlook a crucial aspect about his power. As he's told Boruto, the things I see with 10 directions, they are utterly useless if we get to a situation where people know the information and they begin to act in a way that goes against what I originally saw. Koji wants to take a logical and controlled approach towards getting to that ideal future, and it makes sense, just in the same way that a scientist runs an experiment and they have variables they can control. It's the same thing here with Kashin Koji. He's basically applying the scientific method in a very emotionless way, and this is what is important to remember. This isn't hatred, it's really desperation. Kashin Koji, think of it from his perspective. He has seen thousands, potentially millions of potential outcomes throughout the last 3 years. He has seen so many world-ending scenarios, from Ishiki winning to Code making a chakra fruit to Jura doing the things that Jura is doing. And he's trying to prevent all of that from happening. That is a sensory overload. Koji is just trying to preserve the singularity to change that outcome. But Boruto sees it as betrayal if this happens. Boruto sees this as control. He sees this as being cruel in the way that Kashin Koji is willing to sacrifice others. And that sets up one of the most emotionally tense dynamics in the series. A savior who doesn't want to be saved, and a mentor who in a way has to play the role of a villain in order to secure the future. And that makes the contrast between Koji and Jiraiya's relationships with Boruto and Naruto respectively hit that much harder. In terms of what happens next, expect Kashin Koji to potentially appear just as Jura prepares to kill or absorb Boruto, whether he uses toad summons like we've seen before, or a sealing jutsu, or say he has a teleportation jutsu. We likely see him rip Boruto from the jaws of death, potentially, assuming that Kawaki does not show up. That's extremely important to take note of, not because of sentiment, but because it's the only mathematical outcome that truly keeps hope alive. Because right now, in this world without Naruto, which again, when we start making the giant timeline video once Boruto's series is over, we'll call this part of the timeline after Naruto. Boruto in so many ways has replaced his father as being hope itself, being hope personified. Boruto may not ever forgive Koji. We see he is very pissed off that Yodo had to die, that Konohamaru almost died, but this may be their breaking point, and that is a price of being a singularity, something Koji understands, of being the light that splits the path of destiny. And as Buddhism teaching, it's important to remember that Buddhism teaches often, and it reminds us that enlightenment doesn't always come in peace. Sometimes it comes through pain, hence the cycle of suffering. Koji saving Boruto, it isn't just likely, it might be necessary. This could be Koji directly going there, or it could be Koji telling Shikamaru, I need you to press the Kawaki button for the timeline, for the world, and for the painful birth of the hero that Boruto was ultimately meant to become. Whether or not Boruto forgives Kashin Koji, or whether or not this is betrayal, that remains to be seen. But obviously, if you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe for more Naruto and Boruto content. And check here on the top of the screen and the right of the screen to check out videos from my other two channels that don't talk about Naruto content.